The alien was dying in the medical bay when Lieutenant Connor Hayes first saw her. Her skin shimmered between pale silver and ash gray, flickering like a failing hologram. The vitals monitor screamed warnings across every readout. Dr. Chant. Helen Wright stood frozen beside the examination table, hands hovering uselessly over instruments she didn't understand. "We've tried everything," Helen said without looking up. "Her biology is completely foreign. Nothing works." Connor stepped closer. The princess, they'd been told during the brief first contact transmission, was the last of her royal line. Her ship had crashed into the asteroid field near Station Europa 3 hours ago. By the time the rescue team pulled her from the wreckage, her crew was already gone. The alien's eyes opened. They were violet, deep as nebulas, and locked onto Connor with an intensity that stopped his breath. Her lips moved, forming words in a language that sounded like wind through crystal caves. "I don't understand," Connor said. Her hand lifted from the table, trembling with effort. The skin was translucent enough to see the glow of something beneath, growing dimmer by the second. Helen grabbed his arm. "Don't. We have no idea what contact might do." But the alien's hand reached further, fingers stretching toward him with desperate urgency. The monitors shrieked louder. Her body convulsed once, and the light beneath her skin flickered like a candle in its final moment. Connor pulled free from Helen's grip and caught the alien's hand in his own. The effect was immediate and impossible. Light exploded from the point of contact, brilliant white gold that flooded the medical bay. Connor felt heat rush up his arm, not burning but alive, electric, like touching a live current that carried something more than electricity. The alien gasped, her back arching off the table. "Connor, let go!" Helen shouted. He couldn't. His hand was locked in place, fingers intertwined with the alien's as the light poured between them. He felt something moving through him, something vast and ancient that recognized him in a way that defied explanation. The monitors stopped screaming. The alien's skin shifted from ash gray to radiant silver in seconds. The translucent quality faded, replaced by solid, healthy luminescence. Her breathing steadied. The violet eyes cleared and focused. Connor staggered back as the light faded. His hand was still tingling, marked with faint silver traces that pulsed once before disappearing into his skin. Helen stared at the monitors in disbelief. "That's impossible. Her cellular structure is regenerating. Everything is stabilizing." The alien sat up slowly, looking at Connor with an expression that mixed wonder and something else. Recognition, maybe, or destiny. She spoke again, the crystalline language now carrying weight and strength. Then she switched to accented but clear English. "You carry the resonance," she said. "How?" Connor looked at his hand, then back at her. "I don't know what that means." "It means," the alien princess said, rising to her feet with fluid grace, "that you are not entirely human." The command deck erupted into chaos the moment Captain Victor Kane received the report. "A human with resonance?" Kane's voice cut through the bridge chatter like a knife. "That's genetically impossible." Connor stood at attention in front of the captain's desk, acutely aware of every eye in the room fixed on him. The alien princess, who had introduced herself as Lyra of the Seventh Star Court, stood beside him with regal composure despite wearing borrowed station clothing. "The impossible just saved her life," Helen interjected from the doorway. "I watched his cellular structure synchronize with hers. The bioelectric feedback alone should have killed him." Kane's jaw tightened. "Then we have a problem. Because 3 Valorian warships just entered our sensor range, and they're demanding we hand over the princess immediately." The main view screen flickered to life, showing 3 massive vessels that dwarfed Station Europa. Their hulls were obsidian black, covered in flowing patterns that pulsed with threatening red light. "They're charging weapons," the tactical officer reported. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady despite the obvious danger. The Valorians destroyed my fleet. They want the keystone I carry, the one thing preventing them from accessing the core worlds. They will kill everyone on this station to get it. Connor's hand still tingled where he'd touched her. The sensation hadn't faded. If anything, it had grown stronger, like a second heartbeat running through his veins. What is resonance? Lyra turned to him, violet eyes searching his face. It is the ability to interface with ancient technology, to bond with power sources older than most civilizations. Only those with specific genetic markers can survive the connection. My people have it. Humans are not supposed to. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. The view screen shifted to show a Valorian commander. His face was sharp angles and black eyes, framed by segmented armor that seemed to breathe with its own dark energy. "Station Europa," the Valorian said, his voice carrying digital distortion. "Surrender the Seventh Court Princess within 10 minutes, or we will dismantle your station piece by piece." Kane stood, shoulders squared. "This is a neutral human facility under Earth Coalition protection. You have no authority here." The Valorian's expression didn't change. "We have 3 warships and superior firepower. That is all the authority we require." The transmission cut out. "Sir," the tactical officer said quietly, "we have defensive capabilities, but against 3 warships of that class we'd last maybe 5 minutes." Connor felt something shift inside him, that strange new energy responding to the threat. There has to be another way. Lyra's hand found his arm, and the contact sent another surge of warmth through him. "There is. The keystone I carry can activate the gate." "What gate?" Kane demanded. "The one built into this asteroid field 10,000 years ago," Lyra said. "Your people never detected it because it requires resonance to even perceive. But if we activate it, we can escape to a location the Valorians cannot follow." Ellen shook her head. "You're talking about technology we don't understand, potentially putting the entire station at risk." "The entire station is already at risk," Connor said, his voice carrying unexpected authority. 8 minutes until they start shooting. What do you need from me?" Lyra's expression shifted to something that looked like respect. "I need you to trust me completely. The activation requires 2 resonance signatures working in perfect synchronization. It will be dangerous. More dangerous than Valorian weapons tearing through the hull?" "Potentially, yes," Lyra said without hesitation. "The gate draws power from both people who activate it. If the connection breaks during the process, the feedback could kill us both and destabilize the entire asteroid field." Kane looked between them. "You're seriously proposing we gamble on ancient alien technology and a man who discovered he has impossible abilities 20 minutes ago?" Connor met the captain's gaze. "Do we have a better option, sir?" The bridge fell silent except for the countdown timer projected on the view screen. 7 minutes remained. Kane's fingers drummed once on his desk, then stopped. "Do it. But if this goes wrong, I'm putting it in your service record." Connor almost smiled. "Understood, sir." Lyra pulled him toward the exit. "The gate nexus is 3 kilometers from the station, embedded in the largest asteroid fragment. We need to take a shuttle immediately." They ran through the corridors, Helen following despite her obvious reservations. The station's alert sirens began wailing as the Valorian deadline approached. In the shuttle bay, Connor grabbed a pressure suit while Lyra moved with calm efficiency through the pre-flight checks. Helen caught his arm before he could board. "You don't have to do this," she said. "We could evacuate." "To where?" Connor pulled on the helmet. "They'd hunt down every escape pod. This is the only chance." The shuttle launched with seconds to spare, racing toward the asteroid field as the Valorian warships began their approach vector. The asteroid loomed ahead, a massive fragment of shattered moon that had drifted in Europa's orbit for millennia. Connor piloted the shuttle through the debris field, while Lyra's fingers danced across a handheld device that projected holographic coordinates. "There," she said, pointing to what looked like solid rock. "The entrance activates when we approach." Connor saw nothing but ancient stone and ice. Then Lyra pressed her palm against the shuttle's console, and the tingling sensation in his hand intensified until it felt like lightning crawling under his skin. The asteroid's surface rippled. Stone flowed like liquid, revealing a tunnel lined with geometric patterns that pulsed with soft blue luminescence. The symbols seemed to shift and breathe, reacting to their presence. 3 minutes, Helen's voice crackled over the comm from the station. "The Valorians are demanding a response." Connor guided the shuttle into the tunnel. The moment they crossed the threshold, the entrance sealed behind them with seamless precision. They were committed now. The passage opened into a cavern that defied physics. The space was impossibly large, stretching in dimensions that made Connor's eyes hurt when he tried to focus on the edges. At the center floated a structure of crystalline metal and captured starlight, rotating slowly in zero gravity. "The gate," Lyra breathed. "I've only seen images in the Royal Archives." They suited up and pushed out of the shuttle. The cavern had its own atmosphere, thin but breathable according to the suit's sensors. Connor felt the energy here, thick and potent, resonating with whatever had changed inside him. Lyra pulled the keystone from a sealed container at her belt. It was a perfect octahedron of something that looked like frozen lightning, each face inscribed with patterns that matched those in the cavern walls. "When I place this in the gate's heart," she said, "the activation sequence begins. We'll have 30 seconds to establish synchronization before the power surge becomes unstable." "What does synchronization mean exactly?" Lyra met his eyes through their helmet visors. "We join our resonance completely. Our thoughts, our energy, our very essence will merge temporarily to create a unified command structure for the gate. It is the most intimate connection two beings can share." Connor felt his pulse quicken. "And if it doesn't work, then the gate will tear itself apart and likely take the asteroid field and your station with it." She said it matter-of-factly, without drama. "Are you ready?" Before he could answer, the comm exploded with static. "Connor, they're firing," Helen shouted. "Station shields are up, but won't hold long." Through the cavern walls, Connor heard the distant thunder of energy weapons striking Station Europa's defensive barriers. People were dying while he floated in an ancient chamber with an alien princess and a plan that sounded like fever dream. "Now?" he said. "Do it now." Lyra pushed toward the gate's central structure. The crystalline metal responded to her approach, panels sliding open to reveal a chamber perfectly sized for the keystone. She placed it inside with reverent care. The gate screamed to life. Light erupted from every surface, brilliant and terrible. The geometric patterns on the walls began racing through color spectrums, cycling faster and faster. The entire structure spun, gaining momentum as power built within its core. Lyra grabbed Connor's hand even through the gloves. "Remove your helmet." "What?" "The resonance requires direct contact. Trust me." Connor's training screamed at him that removing his helmet in an alien structure was insane, but he'd already crossed that line. When he touched her dying hand in the medical bay, he released the seal and pulled the helmet free. The atmosphere was cold and tasted like ozone and starlight. Lyra removed her own helmet, her silver skin glowing brighter now, reflecting the gate's building energy. She pressed her forehead to his. Connor's world exploded into color and sensation beyond anything human neurology was designed to process. He felt Lyra's mind brush against his own, her thoughts and memories flooding through him in a torrent. He saw her homeworld, vast cities built into living mountains. He felt her grief for her fallen people, her determination to protect what remained. He experienced her surprise and wonder when his touch had saved her life. And beneath it all, he felt the resonance itself, the ancient power that recognized something in his genetic code that shouldn't exist. Now, Lyra's voice echoed inside his mind, we command it together. Connor reached for the gate's consciousness with instincts he didn't know he possessed. The structure responded eagerly, hungrily, drawing power from both of them in massive waves. He felt his energy draining, pouring into the mechanism that was now calculating destination coordinates across impossible distances. The cavern shook violently. Cracks appeared in the ancient walls. The Valorians detected the power surge, Lyra said aloud, her voice strained. They're redirecting all firepower to this location. Connor felt it through their connection, the warships turning, their weapons charging with enough destructive force to vaporize the asteroid and everything nearby. Station Europa would be caught in the blast radius. We need more power, he gasped, feeling his strength failing. If we draw more, it might kill us both. Better than letting everyone else die. Through their joined consciousness, Connor felt Lyra's fierce approval. Together they reached deeper, pulling energy from reserves that burned like touching the sun. The gate's rotation accelerated to blinding speed. Space itself began to tear. A rift opened in the center of the cavern, a wound in reality that showed somewhere else entirely. Connor glimpsed green skies and twin moons before the pain became too much and his vision started graying at the edges. Almost there. Lyra's mental voice was fading too. Just a few more seconds. The Valorian weapons fired. 3 concentrated beams of annihilation lanced through space toward the asteroid. Connor felt them coming through the gate's expanded awareness, felt the exact moment of their impact approaching. The rift stabilized. Now! Lyra and Connor shouted together. The gate pulsed once, a single wave of force that rippled outward in all directions. Station Europa, the entire asteroid field, and everything within 1,000 kilometers was suddenly somewhere else. Connor felt the connection break as he collapsed, Lyra falling beside him. Through the cavern's opening, he saw unfamiliar stars and the green-skied world they'd glimpsed in the rift. The Valorian warships were gone, still firing their weapons into empty space thousands of light-years away. They'd actually done it. Connor woke to find Lyra's hand still clasped in his own, their fingers intertwined as they drifted in the cavern's gentle gravity. Her eyes opened at the same moment, violet irises reflecting the gate's now dormant glow. "We survived," she said, sounding genuinely surprised. Connor's entire body ached, like he'd been hit by a shuttle, but he was alive. Through the cavern opening, the unfamiliar green-skied world hung in space like an emerald jewel. "Where are we?" "The refuge," Lyra said, pulling herself upright. "One of the emergency coordinates programmed into every royal keystone. It's been abandoned for 3,000 years. The calm in Connor's discarded helmet crackled to life. "Connor!" "Lyra, are you alive?" Helen's voice was frantic. He grabbed the helmet. "We're here." "Status?" "Station integrity holding at 97%. But you need to see this." They suited back up and returned to the shuttle. As Connor brought them out of the asteroid and into open space, his breath caught. Station Europa floated serenely in orbit around the green world. But it wasn't alone. Surrounding the planet were ruins, massive structures, some the size of cities, drifted in careful orbital patterns. They were clearly ancient, their surfaces weathered by millennia, but the architecture was hauntingly beautiful. Towers and platforms built from the same crystalline metal as the gate, all dark and dormant. "The Seventh Court's original fleet yards," Lyra whispered. "I've seen these in the oldest historical records. This was one of our civilization's birthplaces before we expanded to the core worlds." "Captain Kane wants everyone back immediately," Helen said through the comm. "We're detecting movement on the planet's surface." Connor pushed the shuttle to full speed. The flight back to Station Europa took 8 minutes of tense silence. When they docked, Kane himself was waiting in the bay with a security team. "Explanations," the captain said without preamble. "Now." Lyra stood tall despite her exhaustion. "We activated an emergency translocation gate. Your station and the surrounding asteroid field have been moved approximately 40% 3,000 light years from your original position." Kane's expression went carefully blank. 43,000 light years. "The Valorians cannot follow," Lyra continued. "Gate technology requires specific harmonic signatures. Without a matching keystone and resonance-capable operators, they have no way to track us." "That's the good news," Kane said flatly. "The bad news is we're stranded in an unknown system with no way home. Our long-range communications can't reach Earth Coalition space from this distance." Connor felt the weight of what they'd done settling on his shoulders. They'd saved the station from immediate destruction, but potentially doomed everyone to exile in uncharted space. "Not stranded," Lyra said. "Refuged. This world has resources, breathable atmosphere, and infrastructure that can be restored. My people built here for permanence." Alarms suddenly blared across the station. The tactical officer's voice cut through the speakers. "Captain, we have incoming vessels. Multiple signatures rising from the planet's surface." Everyone rushed to the observation deck. Through the viewport, Connor counted 12 ships climbing through the green atmosphere. They were smaller than the Valorian warships, but moved with predatory grace, their hulls decorated with flowing script that glowed golden. "Those are Seventh Court designs," Lyra said, pressing close to the glass. "But they should be derelict. There's been no presence here for millennia." The lead ship approached Station Europa with clear intent. A transmission request chimed. Kane nodded to the communications officer, and the main screen activated. The face that appeared was humanoid, but distinctly alien, with copper-colored skin and eyes like molten gold. Intricate tattoos covered the visible parts of their face and neck. "Unknown human vessel," the alien said in thickly accented but understandable English. "You arrive with royal signatures and gate activation. This requires explanation before we permit further presence in sacred space." Lyra stepped forward into the camera's view. "I am Lyra of the 7th Star Court, last surviving member of the royal line. By what authority do you challenge my presence in refuge space?" The alien's expression shifted through several emotions Connor couldn't identify before settling on something like shock. "Royal One, we are the Keepers. Our ancestors were charged with maintaining the refuge facilities until the court's return. We have waited 3,000 years. Your people stayed?" Lyra's voice cracked slightly. "All this time, our sacred duty demanded it. But we number only tens of thousands now, scattered across the ruins." The Keeper's golden eyes found Connor. "You travel with a human who carries resonance." "This is unprecedented." Connor stepped into frame. "It wasn't exactly planned." The Keeper studied him with unsettling intensity. "The resonance does not lie. You have bonded with royal power, which means the gate accepted you as worthy. The implications are profound." Kane cleared his throat. "This is all fascinating, but we have 8,000 human civilians on this station who need answers. Can this planet support our presence?" "The refuge can support millions," the Keeper said, "but there are complications. We detected your arrival simultaneously with something else. 3 cycles ago, a distress signal activated in the deep ruins. Something ancient has awakened, and it is not pleased." The screen flickered, replaced by an image of the planet's surface. In a valley between crystalline mountains, structures were glowing with angry red light, the same color Connor had seen on the Valorian warships. "What is that?" Ellen asked. "A containment facility," Lyra said quietly. "My ancestors imprisoned something here before abandoning the refuge. something dangerous enough to require royal seals and permanent guards. Connor felt ice in his stomach. What kind of something? The records were vague, Lyra said. Deliberately so. But the classification was absolute. Whatever is down there was deemed too dangerous to exist anywhere else. The Keeper's face reappeared on screen. The seals have been weakening for centuries. Your gate activation and the power surge it created may have been enough to break them entirely. Royal One, if that containment fails, everything in this system will be at risk. Kane rubbed his temples. So we escaped annihilation by Valorian warships only to potentially unleash an ancient alien horror. Fantastic. We need to investigate, Connor heard himself saying. If there's a chance to reinforce the containment before it fails completely. Agreed, Lyra said. But it will require resonance to even access the facility. The royal seals respond only to those with the gift, which means you and Connor, Ellen said. The only two people on this station with these abilities, both of whom nearly died activating the gate a few hours ago. Connor met Lyra's eyes. He felt the connection still there between them, fainter now but present, humming quietly in the back of his mind. How long before the containment fails completely? Kane asked. The Keeper consulted something off-screen. Based on current degradation rates, 18 hours. Perhaps less, if the entity inside actively works against the barriers. Then we don't have time to rest, Connor said. We go now, assess the situation, and figure out how to keep whatever's down there locked up. Lyra nodded. The Keepers can provide us with historical data on the facility. Captain Kane, I suggest your people begin establishing communications with the Keeper settlements. If this situation deteriorates, we'll need coordinated evacuation protocols. Kane looked like he wanted to argue, but the tactical reality was clear. Do what you need to do. Just try not to end the universe while you're at it. Connor managed a tired smile. No promises, sir. The descent through the refuge's atmosphere was smooth despite the shuttle's age. Connor piloted while Lyra studied the data crystals the Keepers had provided, her face illuminated by holographic text that shifted and flowed like living water. The facility is called the Shroud, she said without looking up. It was built to contain something called the Devourer, an entity that consumed 17 colony worlds before my ancestors found a way to trap it. Connor's hands tightened on the controls. What kind of entity devours entire worlds? One that exists partially outside normal space. It feeds on conscious thought and metabolizes entire populations into raw energy. Lyra finally met his eyes. The Seventh Court nearly fell trying to stop it. They lost half their fleet in the final battle. And they brought it here, to one of their most important historical sites. The refuge had the strongest concentration of ancient technology anywhere in the Empire. They needed every advantage to build a prison that could hold something that powerful. She paused. Connor, if the containment truly fails, this entity will start feeding immediately. The Keeper populations, your station, everything within reach. The green landscape rolled beneath them as they approached the coordinates. The valley appeared suddenly, a deep scar in the planet's surface, surrounded by mountains of crystalline rock that caught the light from the twin moons. At the valley's center, the containment facility pulsed with threatening crimson light. It was a dome structure, partially buried, covered in the same flowing script Connor had seen on the gate. But these symbols writhed and twisted, fighting against something trying to break free from within. Connor set the shuttle down at the valley's edge. The moment they stepped outside, he felt it, a pressure against his mind, something vast and hungry probing the edges of his consciousness. It knows we're here, Lyra said, her hand finding his. The contact helped, pushing back the invasive presence. Stay close to me. The resonance bond we share will provide some protection. They approached the dome on foot. Up close, Connor could see the damage. Cracks spider-webbed across the surface, and through the largest gaps, darkness leaked out like smoke, except it moved with purpose and awareness. The entrance should respond to royal authority, Lyra said, placing her palm against a specific symbol. Nothing happened. She tried again, pressing harder, channeling energy through her hand, until the symbol glowed faintly. Still the entrance remained sealed. The containment is too degraded, she said, frustration clear in her voice. The systems don't recognize legitimate commands anymore. Connor felt the pressure against his mind intensify, as if whatever was inside found their failure amusing. Then, without conscious thought, he placed his hand beside Lyra's. The entrance exploded with light. The symbols cascaded into new configurations, responding to their combined resonance in ways the facility's ancient programming hadn't anticipated. A doorway materialized, edges bleeding the same crimson light that covered the dome. That shouldn't have worked, Lyra whispered. The security protocols were designed to resist unauthorized hybrid signatures. Maybe it doesn't see us as unauthorized, Connor said. Maybe it sees us as something new. They stepped through into darkness that felt solid, oppressive. Emergency lighting flickered to life along the corridor walls, revealing a passage that descended deep into the planet's crust. The air was cold and tasted wrong, like breathing in the space between thoughts. The pressure intensified with every step. Connor heard whispers now, voices speaking languages that had never been meant for human comprehension. Beside him, Lyra's globe brightened defensively. "It's trying to communicate," she said, "or trying to make us think it wants to communicate. The Devourer is intelligent, but everything it says is designed to weaken resolve and create openings." They reached the central chamber after 10 minutes of descent. Connor's breath caught at the sight. The containment core was a sphere of pure light suspended in the chamber's center, held in place by massive pillars covered in royal seals. But the light was dying, flickering like a candle in wind, and pressed against the sphere's surface from within was something that hurt to look at directly. It had no fixed form, constantly shifting between shapes that suggested teeth, claws, eyes, and other anatomies that defied description. Where it pressed against the barrier, reality itself seemed to bend and tear. A voice filled Connor's mind, bypassing his ears entirely. It spoke in perfect English with his mother's voice, which somehow made it more terrifying. "The little human with stolen fire," it said. How curious, how delicious. Connor forced himself to speak aloud. "We're here to repair the containment. Are you?" The voice shifted to his father's tone. "Or are you here because you're already being devoured and don't know it yet?" Lyra stepped forward. "Royal authority commands you to silence, Devourer. Your prison holds yet. Royal authority is ash and memory, little princess. Your empire burned, your people scattered. I felt every death across the distance, tasted their terror and despair, and soon I will taste yours." The containment sphere pulsed dangerously. One of the supporting pillars cracked with a sound like breaking bone. "The pillars are failing faster than predicted," Lyra said urgently. "We need to reinforce them with our own resonance. Create a temporary stability field while we repair the seals." Connor studied the configuration. 4 pillars each, one requiring constant energy input to maintain integrity. How long can we sustain that? Unknown. I've never attempted anything on this scale. Lyra pulled a device from her pack, a crystal lattice that hummed with potential energy. "This is a resonance amplifier from the Keeper archives. It will help channel our power more efficiently, but the drain will be enormous." How enormous? It killed the last team that tried to use it on a similar facility. All 7 of them. Connor laughed despite himself, the sound slightly unhinged. Of course it did." The Devourer's presence surged against the barrier. causing another pillar to crack. Tick-tock, little morsels. My freedom approaches. Lyra activated the amplifier and placed it at the chamber's center. Immediately, Connor felt it pulling at his resonance. Trying to establish connection, he stepped closer and placed his hand on the crystal surface. The pull became a flood. Energy poured out of him in massive waves, channeled through the amplifier and into the failing pillars. Lyra joined him, her hand covering his, and their combined powers synchronized perfectly. The pillars stabilized, cracks sealing as resonance energy flooded the containment system. But the cost was immediate and brutal. Connor felt his strength draining at an alarming rate, his vision already starting to blur at the edges. Through their connection, he felt Lyra struggling with the same depletion. "We can't maintain this," she gasped. "The drain is too fast." The devourer laughed, a sound that resonated in Connor's bones. "Yes, die for me. Feed me your desperation. I haven't tasted resonance-capable beings in millennia." Connor's knees buckled. He was going to fail, going to die in an alien tomb, while an entity of pure hunger broke free to consume everything he tried to save. Then he felt it, a pulse from deep within himself, from that place where the resonance lived. It wasn't just drawing power from him anymore. It was drawing power through him, connecting to something vast and incomprehensible. The gate, 43,000 light-years away. The gate they'd activated still held a connection to them, a thread of energy maintained by their synchronized activation. And through that thread, Connor felt the vast power reserve still contained within the ancient mechanism. "Lyra," he managed, "the gate. We can draw from the gate." Her eyes widened in understanding and terror. "That's never been attempted. The feedback could destroy us both. Better than letting that thing loose. Better than letting that thing loose." Another pillar cracked. Lyra's grip on his hand tightened. Together then, on three. They reached for the gate's power simultaneously, two minds acting as one conduit across impossible distance. The connection snapped into place like a lightning strike. Energy flooded through them, vast and terrible and beautiful. Connor felt his body becoming a living wire, every nerve ending burning with power that threatened to tear him apart from the inside. Beside him, Lyra blazed like a star, her skin radiant with light too bright to look at directly. The amplifier screamed as it channeled the torrential flow. The four pillars erupted with blinding luminescence, pouring reinforced containment energy into the sphere at rates the ancient facility had never been designed to handle. The devourer shrieked. For the first time since they'd entered the chamber, Connor heard genuine pain in that alien voice. The entity recoiled from the strengthening barrier, its formless mass contracting away from the light. "Impossible," it howled. "You cannot sustain this. No mortal forms can channel that magnitude. Watch us." Connor ground out through clenched teeth. The seals on the pillars began rewriting themselves, ancient programming recognizing the flood of power and adapting. New symbols appeared, configurations that combined Seventh Court Royal script with patterns Connor somehow knew were responding to his human resonance signature. The containment was evolving. "It's creating a hybrid lock," Lyra gasped, her voice strained past breaking. "Keyed to both our frequencies. The devourer won't be able to exploit weaknesses in purely Seventh Court technology anymore." The entity raged against the sphere, throwing itself at the barrier with renewed fury, but each impact only strengthened the new seals, feeding back the devourer's own energy into the containment matrix. "You've doomed yourselves," it snarled. "Even if you succeed, that much power will burn you to ash. I'll feast on your remnants as I wait for the next fools to open my cage." Connor felt the truth in those words. The power flowing through him was beyond what flesh and bone could endure. His hands were starting to blister, skin cracking as resonance energy leaked through. Beside him, Lyra's breathing had become shallow and labored. They were dying to forge a prison that would outlast them by millennia. Then Connor felt something else through their connection. A third presence, faint but growing stronger, then a fourth, then dozens. On the planet's surface, the keepers had joined hands in massive circles around their settlements, thousands of them, descendants of the original guards, each carrying trace amounts of resonance in their bloodlines, individually too weak to matter. But together, connected through ritual and determination, they formed a network. And they were feeding power to Lyra. On Station Europa, Helen stood in the medical bay with her hand pressed against the biobed where Connor had first touched the dying princess. She couldn't feel the resonance directly, but she prepared something else. Every surplus power cell on the station, every battery and generator, all linked in series and focused through the station's medical scanners. She channeled it all toward Connor's biosignature. The amplifier's crystal lattice began to sing, a pure tone that resonated through the chamber. The containment sphere blazed white gold, and the devourer's formless mass was compressed smaller and smaller, driven back into the sphere's absolute center. "No," the entity screamed. "No, I am eternal. I am hunger incarnate. You cannot cage infinity." "Watch us do it anyway," Lyra said. And together with Connor, they poured everything into one final surge. The pillars locked into place with the sound of mountains settling. The seals fused, becoming permanent fixtures in reality itself. The containment sphere pulsed once and went perfectly still, a prison now unbreakable by anything short of the destruction of the planet itself. The devourer's voice cut off mid-scream. Silence fell across the chamber. Connor and Lyra collapsed together, their hands still intertwined on the amplifier's surface. The device had gone dark, its task complete. Around them, the facility's emergency lighting shifted from crimson to peaceful blue. "Is it over?" Connor whispered. "For now," Lyra said. "For generations, if the seals hold as designed, they helped each other stand on shaking legs and made their way slowly back through the facility. The oppressive presence was gone, replaced by simple quiet. When they emerged into the valley, the twin moons hung low on the horizon, bathing everything in soft silver light. The shuttle's calm crackled as they climbed aboard. "Connor, Lyra, report," Kane's voice demanded. "Containment secured," Connor said, settling into the pilot seat with a groan. "The devourer isn't going anywhere. Good, because we've been analyzing this system while you were playing with ancient horrors. The keepers have been sharing their archives, and you need to hear this." Lyra leaned closer to the comm. "What did you find?" "This refuge world isn't just a historical site," Kane said. "According to the data, it's the location of 17 other dormant gates, all connecting to different sectors of the galaxy. If we can activate even a few of them, we're not stranded. We have access to a network that predates most known civilizations." Connor met Lyra's eyes and saw his own wonder reflected there. They'd saved the station, secured an ancient prison, and potentially discovered a gateway to places humanity had never imagined reaching. "There's more," Helen's voice joined the channel. "I've been analyzing Connor's biology since you left. The resonance isn't just a temporary effect. It's rewritten portions of his genetic code. It's permanent, and it appears to be hereditary." "Meaning what exactly?" Connor asked. "Meaning humans with resonance capability are now possible. You're not an anomaly anymore. You're the first of something new." The shuttle lifted off, rising through the green atmosphere toward the waiting station. Below, in the valley, the containment facility's blue lights glowed peacefully, a promise kept across millennia. Lyra's hand found Connor's again, and this time the touch was gentle. No desperate transfer of power, just connection. "The seventh court fell because we grew isolated and proud," she said quietly. "But maybe something better can rise here. Humans and keepers, and the last of my people, building together in the refuge. Connor thought about Station Europa's 8,000 souls suddenly granted access to ancient wonders and new worlds. He thought about the keepers who had waited 3,000 years for purpose to return. He thought about the hybrid seals that now locked the Devourer's prison, a combination of human and alien working in perfect synchronization. Yeah, he said, guiding the shuttle home. Maybe something better. Above them, the stars shone unfamiliar but welcoming, each one a possibility waiting to be explored by people brave enough to touch the impossible and make it real.